Before the great human civilizations, before the Teist ever set foot on the world of Wu, there existed a species whose dominance was undisputed. Their mastery of magic and technology could still rival the greatest powers of the modern age. They were not the elder gods, and they were not the ascendants. They were the K'chain Chimel. The K'chain Chimel were a race of highly intelligent reptilians and were the first of the founding races to achieve true dominance over the world of Wu. Their strength would wipe out anything in their path. Their magic combined the use of an elder warren and gravity. Their cities were like nothing ever seen before or will ever be seen, and yet they fell. So what happened to them? How did a civilization so advanced collapse into extinction? So where did they come from? The origin of the K'chain Chimel is mysterious, with some evidence suggesting they may not have been native to the world of Wu at all. One prevailing theory is that the Chimel arrived from another world, possibly as refugees from a dying planet. While this has never been confirmed, it would explain how they came to such dominance, as well as creating tech that seems to be so foreign to the rest of the world of Wu. Though this theory is fun, what is known is this: from the beginning, whether via arrival or birth, the Chimel began constructing vast skykeeps. These were massive floating cities of stone, as well as some that were not floating and rooted to the ground. One such skykeep still exists in the modern era, Moonspawn. For it to last hundreds of thousands of years, it is proof of how advanced the tech and magic was for the Chimel. Chimel civilizations function less like a traditional human society and more like a hive or ant colony, with at the center of each nest being a matron, which is a female Chimel. The matron ruled the society, giving birth to countless Chimel who were controlled by her and did her bidding, for the most part. The matron would birth many different Chimel to serve the needs of the nest. The firstborn of her brood was the Kell Hunters. They were the warrior class of the Chimel. They were also the most fiercely loyal to the queen matron, only answering to her. They were described as having 2 hind legs like a wingless bird, as well as having 2 human-length blades protruding from their arms. Then there was the Shagul assassins. Only 3 of these would ever be born per one matron. Their purpose would be to be her bodyguard. They were more free-willed than the loyal Kell Hunters, as they detested any alliance with any other faction, as well as if they ever sensed that the matron had stepped out of line, they would not be afraid to attempt to kill her. This is why there was always 3, as the other 2 would step in to protect the matron. They were twice the size of Kell Hunters and possessed venomous blades, as well as wings. They had 2 sets of eyes. The second set was embedded in the chest area. Their power was such that it was said that they could go toe-to-toe with an Elant. Then there's the K'chain Naruk. They were the most magically inclined of the Chimel. They were able to merge magic with machine, with their most famous creation being the famous skykeeps. They were also the most different of the matron's brood, as they were even more free-spirited than the Shagul. They would flat out refuse to submit to the matron's rules. This would create a very interesting dynamic, as the matron liked the creations of the Naruk, as they saw the value, but did not like how they were unable to be controlled. They were also physically distinct from their kin. Unlike the traditional Chimel, the Naruk lacked the long, powerful tail common to the species. Instead, they possessed short, stunted tails, a trait that made them slower and less mobile than other Chimel variants. This pretty much goes over the main breeds of the Chimel. There are others, but they will not be covered in this video. At the height of their power, the Chimel dominated the world. They had enslaved the young and naive Jagat. The Jagat at this point in their evolution had not yet mastered their full magical potential. Also, the elder gods were kept at bay, unable or unwilling to directly challenge the Chimales for supremacy. So it was clear who ruled the world of Wu at this time. But there was one force that was able to stand up against them: the Daragoth, who you may know better as the Hounds of Shadow, though they were not known by this name currently. These hounds safeguarded what would later become the continent of 7 cities. Whenever the skykeeps would show up, the Daragoth would go to war with the Chimale. These wars taught the Chimale one thing: never come back to this continent. Because of this, the Chimale never really established a colony on the continent, and no trace of them is found on 7 cities to this day. This time of dominance began to falter, as the enslaved Jagat began to awaken to their true power, as they began to develop mastery over their magic, and with this new power, uprisings became more and more normal. In response, the matron made a decision. This was to resurrect the Naruk, the short-tailed breed of the Chimale. The Naruk were extinct at this time, most likely because of their rebellious nature being too much for the matrons to control. The hope was that the Naruk would be able to use their magical gift to combat the rising threat of the Jagat. But this was a mistake, as the Naruk would only add to these issues. A bloody civil war would break out between the short-tailed Naruk and their longer-tailed kin. These wars would decimate Chimale society, as well as in one particular battle create a red gash in the sky, known as the Rent. This gash was an opening to chaos and the regular world. In the wake of the Civil War, what remained of the Chimale civilizations struggled to rebuild. The damage was too great. Their number had fallen to the lowest point in history, and their age of dominance had come to an end. For the first time in ages, the world of Wu began to grow, no longer living in fear of the Chimale. Only a handful of Chimale civilizations survived, and they were confined to the continent of Lether. With Chimale dominance broken, the Jagat were no longer slaves. Freed from their bondage, they rose to prominence, becoming one of the dominant races in the world, and shaping the future of Wu through their magic. Also, the elder gods began to arrive and influence the world of Wu. Where once they had been held at bay by the Chimale, they now found a world open to their design. This period of decline would worsen with the arrival of the Teist people. The Teist Andi and the Teist Dur would enter the world of Wu via the Rent, arriving on the continent of Lether in the Blue Rose region. Soon after their arrival, the last Chimale civilizations would clash with them. Many battles would be fought, but for the first time, the Chimale faced an enemy capable of matching their power. In one final legendary confrontation, fought by figures such as Scabandary Bloodeye and Silkus Rune, the Chimale were defeated. With this final defeat, extinction dawned for the Chimale. In the ages that followed, they all but vanished from the world of Wu, remembered only through a handful of appearances spanning the next 300,000 years.